Welcome to the Clueless Parent Podcast. This podcast is all about teens educating us on what's going on in their worlds. This is a moment where we sit back and we as parents learn from them on what's going on around them. We're excited to bring you this episode, and so let's begin right now. All right, welcome to episode 1 of The Clueless Parent. I'm so excited that we're able to bring this back to you. We kind of started this about a year and a half ago with Teen Culture. We threw out a couple pilot episodes, and we pulled back and just decided, hey, we want to revamp this, redo it. And here we are with the revamp, the first episode, and we're really excited. And so with me today, I've got Robin Dalton, who's going to be our Clueless Parent. Say hi, Robin.
Hi.
Robin, tell us a little bit about you. You got teenagers.
How much time do I have? So I have 5 children. I have 12-year-old twins, 14-year-old. I have a 23-year-old and a 25-year-old that's married with 2 grandchildren.
Nice.
So,
that's awesome. And then we've got Dalton Bleckley, who, what grade you in? Tell us what school you go to, that kind of stuff. Maybe not what school you go to, I don't know. Tell us whatever you want.
Okay, I'll be a junior, and I don't have kids. I have a dog and a cat, but...
How do you say your last name?
Bleckley.
Bleckley?
Yeah, it's German. And, yeah, people usually get that wrong, so that's something.
There you go. So these are our parents and students that we got this episode. So basically the way that we're going to format this, before we just kind of had a couple students talking to us, but we're going to have every episode, we're going to have a clueless parent, and we're going to have our student. And our student is going to be the one who's going to be educating both of us. For those of you guys who don't know me, I'm Tony Tiller, youth pastor out in Warrenton, Missouri. And so we're excited to bring it to you. So this first episode we're going to be talking about is sex and relationships. What is going on in teen culture when it comes to sex and relationships? A lot of parents think they've got a handle because teenagers, quite honestly, are really good at covering this stuff up. And so Dalton's going to give us the down low on what's happening. But before we jump into that, I just kind of want to break the ice a little bit.
Oh, I didn't know this would be recorded.
Huh?
I didn't know this part.
Oh, this part's recorded too.
Oh,
absolutely.
My gosh.
So we're gonna play something called the slang game. So if there's anything that I'm realizing, and let me say this too, Robin has not seen any of the questions, any of what we're about to do. We wanted to kind of catch her off the cuff. I did give Dalton a little bit of a heads up.
Not fair.
It's not fair. That's what I wanted to do. But with the slang game, what we're doing is there is so much teen slang. Like I know every generation has their own version. What was some of your teen slang growing up? Do you remember?
I don't even remember.
Would that be something?
No, I think that was even after me. I don't know. Hot went from temperature to looking good.
Okay, they still use that one, right? Okay, yeah. But there is a lot more that's happening. So I just want to see if Robin knows what these means. All right, so here's our first one. Bae. B-A-E. What do you think bae means?
So not water inlet where the water comes in. Bae. Rhymes with slay. I don't know what bae means.
It's just like it's more of like a middle schooler thing. It's like what you call like girls. No.
Really?
Wow.
No.
Already learning stuff.
Clueless pastor.
Whenever I was in like 7th grade, it's like girlfriend, because it's like in German it means like poop or whatever. Oh. So it's like kind of contradicting.
I thought it was for baby.
No.
So, it
can be used
so
the
what
same.
does bae mean?
Like girl. Girlfriend. That
yeah, it's like it's kind of
okay.
Like
girlfriend, bae.
Yeah, but we don't really
kind of like beau, but bae for girl.
What's beau?
Yeah,
beau, like
Okay, maybe.
Boyfriend.
I don't know what beau is, but yeah.
All right. Next one, yeet.
Okay,
Y-E-E-T. Have you ever heard
I have
this?
never heard of yeet before. All I can do is tell you what it rhymes with, and that's all I know about yeet.
What is yeet?
Yeet is like whenever you throw something, you're like, yeet. Like you're just getting rid of it.
You have to throw it?
Well, you don't have to. It's
so
like
it means
you're
get rid of
it.
something.
Yeah,
so if I cleaned out my closet, I could be like, yeet.
I'm a
yeet.
Like I'm gonna yeet this out of here.
Yeet it out.
Okay, all right. Salty.
Oh, bitter.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Salty.
Okay.
Not clueless.
Bitter.
Not clueless.
I know salty.
You probably know this one. Low key.
Chill.
Yeah, it's like on the down low. Like you don't really talk about it.
So that's not really chill.
wait. It's not chill.
Well, it is. It's basically.
It's
like
something
you're chill
that's
about
known,
Low key.
but
under the radar.
About. Yeah.
Okay. Untalked about. No, that's not how you say that. All right. Throwing shade. Why did you know this one?
Throwing shade.
This is common talk.
Okay, really, Tony? Okay, thanks. Common talk for teenagers.
I'm not saying...
Did you say throwing shade?
Throwing
like
shade.
a light shade that you would throw. No. Like throwing shade. But like that's the...
Okay, yeah, I guess.
That's the correct spell. Let's see. Throwing shade could mean throwing... I don't know.
It's just like... whenever you're like mean to someone for no reason, you're just like kind of throwing shade at them, like you're being really
rude.
Yeah, for no reason.
Rude. Throwing shade means being rude to somebody.
Left me on red.
Not responding back.
Okay.
Is that great?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, I
not
didn't
responding
know.
back in what context?
Well, since it's red, I would say Snapchat.
Yeah.
Really?
I think it could be any of them. It could be
Okay.
Snapchat, texting, whatever.
All
Do
right.
kids text anymore?
Yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
Because, like, before, whenever we did this, like, it was like... Okay. It was like... that. Anyway, all right. Turned up.
Excited.
Yeah, it's like you're getting hyped.
Okay. TBH.
Did you say getting hyped?
Getting
Yeah.
excited.
Getting hyped. Okay. TBH?
Yeah, TBH.
Well,
This is gonna be good.
I mean, TB usually stands for to be.
Okay.
To be...
75% there? Or 66 and a third?
To be... TBH.
Yeah.
This is
Hungry. To be hungry.
No.
No.
To be honest,
Oh, of course. To
So
be
what is
honest.
it to be honest? What is it to be
it's
honest?
just like well, also another like high schoolers still do it, like the like lame ones.
Which surprises me.
But it's like they put it on like their Instagram where they like slide up for a TBH and you like tell them how you feel.
It's yeah. TBH. It's so stupid. Like
It is so
I'm gonna
stupid.
lie to you
Yes.
most of the time, but
Yes.
this time I'm only
100%.
gonna be honest.
It's
to you.
always, I don't really talk to you, but we should hang out more,
Yeah.
typically.
Or you're
Yes.
this, or
Typically.
you're
That is
this,
like
or
the
you're-
response if you don't know
I
what
just
it
tell
is.
people I'm
To
like,
be
we don't
honest,
really
because
talk
I
about
usually
your
lie.
Yeah, that's so true. Woke.
Woke. Like, wow. Did you really say that?
I don't think that's really...
No, it's more like you're more conscious about what's going on around
You're
you.
aware of what's happening. Like, you are really in the know.
Okay. Woke.
So right now you are not considered woke.
Okay.
By the end of this,
Dalton.
by the-
Dalton's already a
We'll
fan.
see, Dalton.
This
By
is
the
why I
end-
put these two together.
Maybe we'll do a clueless child.
By the end of this, I'm sure you'll be woke.
Okay.
All right, let's do five
Great
more.
For the
Let's do
context
five
of
more.
The sentence.
Goat. In context, this would be Tommy is the goat.
Oh no.
That's our sound engineer back in the back. You don't see him. Tommy
He's
is
the one you would blame if there was a mistake.
Oh, that is the
Not a
opposite.
scapegoat.
I mean,
All right,
it's,
so what is
it's
goat?
my best
Just
guess.
greatest of all time.
It stands for.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah.
Greatest of all.
He is the
Aw,
goat.
Tommy, you're the goat, dude. Way to go.
Tommy's laughing silently back there. He's
Tommy
trying
is
to-
here, y'all. In case you don't know that, there's someone behind the camera who we're talking to. We're not
Yes.
just talking to like.
I'll post a picture of him. Follow our Facebook. All right. Anyway, I'm weak.
Tired.
No, whatever you're like, if someone says something really funny, like whenever you, which one did you say it about? The throwing shade one. Like whenever you said lamb shade, it like I was just laughing. It's like I'm weak about it. It made me like
Okay.
feeble, I guess.
Made me feeble. Made me paralyzed with laughter.
And what word? What's it called?
I'm weak.
Weak.
Mhm.
Weak. Okay.
Four more.
So wait, when you're talking to Riley, do you just like not understand the things she says?
Well, only because she talks so fast that I have to tell her to slow down
like,
and
and
say
I
it
oop.
again.
Like and I oop.
What is
And I
that?
oop?
Yeah, she says that
This is
all
a
the time.
curveball.
What's N-I-oop? Like, and I oop or
Yeah.
I oop?
And I oop. Riley
And
says
I
it every
oop.
sentence that I see her.
And what's that mean?
I don't even know how to explain it. It's just something she says. It's like some people know what it means, but
Well, she talks gibberish, if that makes
Yeah,
any
she does.
difference.
These
And
are the
she's
gibberish
really,
words.
And she's really good
Like,
at
all
it. No,
these things are-
gibberish has a phonetic rule behind it. Like, can you speak in gibberish?
no, I cannot.
Okay.
I can't either. I didn't even know it was like a legit
It's
thing.
a legit thing, and it's incredible that these kids can speak. We were at, can I tell a story?
Yeah, sure.
We were at the doctor's office one time, and Riley and Jasmine were speaking
Oh, no.
in gibberish, having a conversation.
I think
So
they just played
embarrassing.
you.
And they totally do. It's like getting your nails done, which you wouldn't have any experience, and they're
Okay.
talking, and you know for sure they're talking about you. Anyway, so all of a sudden we're at this doctor's office, and this kid, like 3 years younger than them, answers them back in gibberish, and they totally got called out. It was hilarious.
Wow.
Okay.
I need to check that out.
Gibberish.
That's good work. All right, 3 more.
See, I had one word that
That he didn't know. Clueless Dalton. Mm-hmm. Gucci.
Okay, Gucci.
Can you throw me a water, Tommy?
Gucci. I know what Gucci means. But for you, I'm going to say cool. Like, hey, that's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty
Slamming.
accurate.
Cool.
Slamming.
Okay.
All right. Basic.
Too simple.
Yeah.
Nice. Well
All
done.
right, you're on a roll.
All right, last one. Dank.
I don't know what dank means. I only know what to rhyme with.
Dang. Oof. Usually it's not used with unless it's like with like weed.
Weed?
Like, yeah. Like
Wow, going deep there.
Dank.
I didn't know that.
Did you say dank?
Yeah.
Like, does it mean like another word for stoned?
No, it's just like
It's the type of weed, right?
no, it's like good. It's like that's dank, you know. But
That's dank.
it's usually to like ghetto kids that use that.
All right.
Not throwing shade at anyone.
Not throwing shade. Full circle. I like that. All right, so that's all for the slang game. You feel
Throwing
like
shade.
you were enlightened today?
Yeah.
And that's probably
I
like
already, yeah.
10% of the words they use, right?
She's gonna go use these on Riley.
I will
So
have to
on our
have a copy
Facebook
of them.
page, we're actually going to, on Tuesdays, we're going to do Tuesday Teen Talk. And we're going to do like a definition of one word. It'll just be just a meme. Do you know what a meme is?
Yeah, like a little splash.
Yeah, something like that.
I like that.
How would you describe a meme?
Just like a old meme or just like nowadays meme?
Let's do both.
Okay,
Okay,
really?
so like an old meme, not old, but just like 2008, like
Yeah.
it was like some like a picture and then like words,
Okay.
like an actual like
So a graphic.
yeah. And then nowadays it could literally just be like a guy on a horse and be like walk and like people might just think it's funny for
Yeah.
no reason.
I have teenagers who'll come up and be like, "Is it like?" They'll show me something on TikTok. Like, this is so funny. I'm like, I don't get it. Like
Yeah,
I'm trying to get it, but I don't, and they're laughing hysterically.
There's like 1 out of 10 times it makes sense, and other times it's just like a couch and then like a cat on it, and they're just like dog, and they're like, oh my god.
Or, yeah,
Wow.
funny stuff of this generation.
Memes are great.
All right, so if you want to follow the Facebook page, like I said, we'll be doing Teen Talk on Tuesdays, and we'll throw up some memes or graphics, whatever your generation wants to call them, and it'll have the word, explain it, used it in some context. That way, if you see it in like your teens texting or them talking to their friends, you can actually know what they're talking about. So, all right, so let's jump into kind of the discussion to a part of this episode. So basically, what we're going to be talking about again is sex and relationships, and what we want to learn from you, Dalton, is what does a teen relationship look like, both in the emotional sense, maybe in the physical sense, like, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And so I got some questions that we'll kind of jump in with, but feel free if you've got other questions or whatever. You know, I want to create a conversation around this. All right, so I'm going to have you answer things first, and then we can have Dalton tell us if your perspective is correct on it.
Okay, so I have to answer according to my perspective
Yes.
of this generation.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe your kids or kids that are around you, whatever that looks like. All right, so first thing, what do you think a typical relationship looks like in high school and middle school emotionally?
So are we talking like friendship relationship or boy-girl
No,
relationship?
let's stick to like mainly boyfriend-girlfriend
Boyfriend,
relationship.
girlfriend. Oh, well, in junior high or middle school, it's just name it and claim it. He's my boyfriend, she's my girlfriend, and we're together, and nobody else is allowed to touch them, or else I'm going to get mad at you.
Okay. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
in middle school, yeah, it's kind of just like, oh yeah, me and you, we're a thing. And then after that, it's just like, they don't talk in the halls, they just text.
That's it.
That's it.
Like there's never any actual contact.
Well, like they do, but
Oh,
it'll
there
just
is
be like-
contact.
not in middle
I've seen
school.
it.
In
There's
middle school?
contact. Yes, 8th grade, 7th grade.
I've definitely heard of it too.
There's contact.
Oh, maybe now. Whenever I was in middle school, people were just like,
How old are you?
16.
Going to be a
Okay.
junior. Okay. Okay, so what about high school?
I think in high school they're getting more serious and, doing more and definitely more contact, or potential for more contact.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. It's like out the gates.
Out the gates.
As soon as you get in there.
Okay, so let me ask you this: when it comes into let's just talk high school relationships because you're in high school. That's what you understand the best. how many people do you think a typical, you're going to be a junior, junior has been with in their high school career sexually?
How many?
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard of girls that are like 10.
10.
Yeah.
What about guys?
I've heard of guys that are like 15.
15. By the time they're a junior?
We're
in my
talking
grade.
partners.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
sexual, full blown.
Yeah.
10 to 15 by the time. Okay, so let's say, when does that start? So is that, are we
Those
talking?
people are starting in like the summer going into high school.
Okay, so
And-
basically after your 8th grade year.
Yeah, but those are like the kids that like go to parties every weekend and that like show up to school like drunk or high. Usually the kids that are away from that aren't. They're doing it, but they're not
Okay. You're not
going
full.
above and beyond for the numbers.
So if for the numbers. So the last time we did this episode, there was something called, I don't want you to answer this yet. Something called a body count. Do you know what a body count is?
Well, I could guess what a body count is, but just basically how many people you've been with.
Yeah.
And that's like a big thing. Like
Wow.
it's basically like your
Track record.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's talked about a lot, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you this. How much is it talked about within
If you're
and
with
you can ask questions if you throw stuff in.
if you're with guys, it's usually talked about a lot.
By the guys.
Yeah. Like they bring it up.
Do girls talk about it very much?
The girls that I've hung out with, they don't really talk about it now.
Okay. Let me ask you this. You said that it's those going into their 8th grade year, those are typically just the wild, crazy ones. What percentage would you say?
I think you said those going into their 9th grade year from 8th grade.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. The summer after 8th grade. So, like, what percentage is that those crazy ones that are...
Probably like 25% or less.
Okay. And then the other 75%, do they eventually fall into that as they go through high school?
I feel like freshman and sophomore year, we usually like stay back and we're just
Because
like,
you're figuring things out.
we're like, okay, y'all crazy. We just got here. We need to calm down.
Yeah.
And then like once it's like you've been there a while, people just kind of like everyone's changing. Like you don't see the same people every day. So it's like once you're hanging out with the older kids, it kind of just.
Yeah.
So do you think it gets more popular the older you get in high school to have a count, or less popular the older you are in high school?
For girls, it's less popular to have a high body count, but for guys, it's kind of like, oh, you have that many, like,
Well done.
yeah. But like,
Which
yeah,
it's kind of always been like that, I would imagine.
the older
right?
you get, it's like more like talked about. Like it's always brought up whenever you're single, you know.
How much of your conversation, when you're not around parents, teachers, all that kind of stuff, revolves around this? Not Dalton's. Typical
Not-
students.
Not a huge portion, like, cause it kind of gets boring. It's like, okay, you did that.
What's the next thing?
Yeah, that's it
So then what is the next thing?
to do.
Yeah. Like
Okay.
when sex gets boring, what's the next thing?
Whew. I don't know.
It's just,
Good answer.
yeah, there you go. Okay, let me ask you this. At what age do you think most kids are losing their virginity? What do you think?
Average age?
Sure.
Oh, I would say average age. It's still probably 16. Average, but you would know some people that are much younger, like 13 or 14, for sure.
So what do you think is typical?
Probably around 14 now.
So most 14-year-olds probably have lost their virginity.
At Warrenton, yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Okay. So that's almost middle school.
Yeah.
And that's
That
not...
is middle school. That's 8th grade.
Yeah. And that's not even taking into account everything that can happen up into that, right?
Yeah.
So, like, how at what age do you think physical stuff starts happening? I'll say past just a kiss on the cheek or something like that. Like, when does that start?
It probably starts in like freshman year. It like you see it more. Like you see couples like actually doing it, but then you start hearing about it more like the end of that. So when like 15, like before you turn 16.
But if they're losing their virginity at 14,
Well, it's just like that. Like most of them are, but then there's like, but you already know that's what they're doing because they're.
Gotcha.
Those are the kids that are like at parties or showing up to school like.
so that's like the 25
intoxicated.
to
Yeah.
50-ish%.
Yeah, and then they start whenever you're going into your sophomore year, it like starts showing.
So, and that's something I had on there too. Like, so how does that happen? You said parties. Like, if I'm a parent, what are some things that I need to be watching out for as far as where my kids are going to do this stuff? Like, what's the lies that are being said, or the way that students are going to spin it, or that kind of stuff?
Like, I'm just going to my friend's house, and then that friend's parents are usually like, oh yeah, I don't care if you go to that person's house, not knowing it's a party, and then they come back like 4 a.m.
Gotcha. So then the parent just thinks they're at friend A's house, and then friend A's parents say, oh yeah, you can go to friend B's, and then it's just like that. And they probably kind of use each other in that sense. Man. Okay. How do you think a teen would define an unhealthy relationship? Like, at what point does a teenager step back and say, wow, this isn't good? Or does that ever happen?
I'd say that doesn't really happen. It's got to be like something like big to be like open your eyes.
What's big?
Like, usually when I've seen it, it's like when you get cheated on, it's just like, oh, like that happened.
Even though they want body counts.
Yeah, but it's still like, I thought we had this mutual agreement here. And then,
so guys and girls are both like that?
Yeah.
So they basically, that's the only time that they ever think it's going to be unhealthy. Wow. So if they see that, how do they react? Like, what's the typical reaction to a cheating scenario or something like that?
Usually they just want to get back at them. Like, that's how there's not many mature people about it.
Okay. All right. Let me ask you this. Let's talk about social media.
Okay.
This will be fun. How we can take this out of the context of even just boyfriend and girlfriend. Let's just talk about how guys and girls interact on social media typically. So, what does a typical conversation look like?
Like, if you're actually interested in someone?
Let's say, yeah.
Like someone like with me and like Tommy, or like...
No. You and a girl.
Or if you want to hook up, not you, but like if there's a hookup for the count.
Usually it just starts like, they just start talking, and then it quickly progresses to like turn-ons and and like things like that. And then do you know
what do you mean turn-ons?
Like what
turns you on?
Do you know what DTF is?
DTF. No, I'm just gonna say no.
Down to, and then the
F word.
The F word.
Okay, DTF.
Okay, and I'm glad you went here because I like how you said it quickly turns into, because that's what I've seen, and I think that is what I think a lot of parents don't realize. Tell me if I'm right on this. This is kind of how I view social media. I think whenever, like, even my generation really didn't have social media. So there was always this, like, if I want to do certain activities, there were certain contexts to do it in. So what I mean by that is, like, things that I would say or do at church, I wouldn't do that maybe I would do at a club. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You guys follow me? Mm-hmm. Social media works the exact same way, in my opinion. You can tell me if I'm wrong. Whereas a lot of parents will think, oh, well, they're just talking on Snapchat. Snapchat is like the club of social media where anything goes. But then a lot of parents will gauge their kids' Facebook with what they're doing on, if they even have Facebook
So
anymore.
are you saying Facebook would be the church?
Exactly. Facebook is where they know grandma's going to comment, where other people are going to see, so they keep things lighter. They're not going to maybe cuss on there unless the parents really don't care or whatever. But Facebook is going to be the lightest. I'll say Facebook and partially Instagram will be the lightest version be the best portrayal of your student.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
But then you get into, and I don't know really where Twitter falls. It seems like some students love Twitter. Some students are like, oh, that's for old people.
I've never even been on Twitter. I don't know how it works.
So there's that. But when it comes to Snapchat, though, Snapchat is the club. Anything goes, and that's what I've noticed with teenagers is, it's so open, and those conversations go to the DTF conversations so fast. So, like, let's say a typical teenager. Well, let me ask you this, Robin. If a typical guy is texting a girl he doesn't know, how quickly do you think it goes to? Maybe before he even said that, how quickly did you think it goes to that type of conversation as far as sexting or whatever?
Okay, so like I would think in high school it would, in my naive world, would never go there by texting, because why would you do that without, by texting someone?
So you thought it never goes there?
Not by texting, no.
What about through Snapchat?
No, like that's crazy to me.
Okay.
That it could go to that like basically a hookup by texting or Snapchatting.
It isn't always a hookup. It'll be like nudes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's what it usually goes to. And then after that, for a while, then they're like, "Oh, do you want to hang out?" And they're not gonna hang out. You know?
Yeah.
Wow.
So let's talk about how quick that goes to. So let's say an average teenager, they find a girl on Snapchat, because it's very common to you go to school with somebody, see somebody's cute, you find them on Snapchat. You don't even talk to them in person, correct? Like you just add them on Snapchat.
Nobody knows how to communicate anymore
not at all,
face to
not at all.
face.
So how quickly after they get that ad on Snapchat does it go to that type of conversation?
Usually what I see is if you really like them, like you think you like them, it'll take you a while because you don't want to mess.
So like if
things
you
up.
actually want a relationship?
Yeah, then you won't do it like for a while because you're
Define
like
a while.
like months.
Wow.
Because
Okay.
it's like I don't want to mess it up, like scare them away. But if it's like, oh, I just think she's hot, then it's like you're talking, and you're like, all right, cut to the chase.
So it's basically first conversation.
Yeah, usually
Probably within how many minutes?
probably like within an hour.
Within an hour.
Wow.
And how many times does the girl say yes? Percentage.
Probably like half.
Half the time?
Yeah.
Okay. Do guys like reciprocate those pictures?
What do you like?
Do they send nudes?
Yeah.
Okay. And so that's
Do you guys know that really doesn't go away?
Yeah.
Like
I don't care though.
Okay.
Like and that like that's just
they
that
know.
that is the culture of Snapchat. So like for example, parents a lot of times I actually had there's what really became the driver for this podcast was a conversation I had with a parent who said, "Oh, I don't care about Snapchat. I watch my students' Instagram, but because they could see bad pictures there, but Snapchat, there's no big deal there."
I just want you to know I'm not that kind of clueless parent. Okay.
It wasn't Robin.
me.
It wasn't Robin. But that's when I realized parents have no idea what's happening with their students. And this type of activity, we all know as adults, it's detrimental. Like if you're sending those kind of pictures, and I would say, how often does a girl get hit up, do you think? I probably should. We're going to do another one of these with a girl, and she can answer that. But
And so so hit up would mean
Text.
yeah, start this conversation with the intent of getting pictures or whatever else.
I don't want to be like mean, but I mean, if she's ugly, probably not a lot.
Okay, so let's say if she's not.
Like, I mean, you've probably seen interviews of like models, like all the creepy things they get. It's like, so that's how a horny guy is.
Okay, but
They
how does
just,
that
like-
connect in high school though?
It's the same. Like if there's a hot girl and like a guy knows that she sends, like they hit her up like all the time.
Okay, so how many? Let's say in an average week,
Okay.
decent to hot girl, how many times does she get in contact a week for pics?
Probably like 3 times a night, so like 15.
Three times a night?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys, a lot of.
and
mess
so
around
they
with
just
it.
ask for pics.
Well, I mean, not always like that, but
But usually within an hour to.
like they'll like talk and then they'll just be like, "So, like, what are you doing?" And then kind of get to it.
And it all has its own verbiage, and so they know when it's starting to go there.
Yeah.
Correct. And so if they want to, then they'll just do it. Correct. And you're saying about 50%,
Probably
maybe a
yeah.
little higher.
Yeah, probably.
So if they're getting hit up 15 times, and that 50% is probably dependent on if they like the guy.
Yeah.
So there's probably a good chance that they like at least half the guys that are hitting them up. So there's a real possibility that if you have a girl or a guy student, I guess, because they're sending them as well, they're sending pictures to up to 7 students, other students a week. Agreed?
Possibly, yeah. Like they don't.
So there's like they don't care if like all these guys see them and what they
well,
look like.
It just depends. Like my grade and the grade above me and the grade below me are so different about it. Like the grade above me, they don't really do it. They you don't hear about it. My grade, you hear about it all the time. But the grade below me, they were doing it in like 7th grade.
Yeah.
Like
for
they
sure.
were out the gates going to it.
Because it progressively gets worse,
Yeah.
which would make sense. You said the grade above you is not doing it as much?
Yeah, you don't really hear about it as much. They don't do that, but like they be doing it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then then you said it goes to a meetup. Do they just basically like, hey, want to have sex, meet here?
No, they just like you want to hang out, and they're like, well, what are we gonna do? And then you kind of talk about it, and then if you guys do hang out, then
Stuff happens.
yeah, usually just
Wow.
There you go. So that's the kind of stuff that's happening on Snapchat. And a lot of times what parents will tell me is, well, I look through my kid's Snapchat. Well, here's the thing you don't understand. Conversations get deleted, and even if you're making your kids save their pictures in the main camera roll, one thing, I know Robin and I were talking, I think last week, I said, do you know about My Eyes Only? She's like, no, I have no idea what that is. Explain to us what My Eyes Only is within Snapchat.
It's just like you scroll all the way over, you put in a code, and then there's pictures. So like, it's like a vault.
Yeah.
It's a vault of your pictures or what somebody could send you.
No, you're like if you screenshot anything in your camera roll, you can put in there. If it's under 10, like videos are under 10 seconds, but
can go into My Eyes Only.
Yeah.
So basically, you get a pic.
And it's in Snapchat, or is it on your camera roll on your
just
phone?
on Snapchat.
On Snapchat.
So you're not going to see it on your student's camera roll. You're not going to see it on even the Snapchat camera roll because it's a separate folder within Snapchat that has a passcode that only your student knows. That's where they store all of those pictures.
But will you see like a tab that says My Eyes Only?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you have to know how to use it. And the problem is a lot of parents don't have any idea and they don't learn about it, and they just take their, for face value what their students say, and then their students are able to cover it up pretty easily. Because do you have a Snapchat personally?
I do.
Do you use it?
Yes.
Okay, well there you go.
I do.
Most parents don't.
All the time.
Yeah, most parents don't. And so if you're not using it, you're not going to have any idea. And not even that. I mean, we had somebody, Snapchat's not the only one. There's a ton of ways that students can get this stuff. Hashtags. A lot of times parents will find out, okay, they're watching this on Safari or, Snapchat or whatever, so they'll disable those, but they're like, oh, Instagram's okay. You can do hashtag, porn or whatever. Maybe not so much on Instagram because I think they censor a little bit.
Yeah, it used to be like that though.
But Twitter, Reddit, Discord, all that kind of stuff, and parents will just be like, oh, what's this? And they'll say, something for school. Oh, okay, that's fine. And they have no idea
It's not for school.
Yeah, it's not for school. I'll give you an example. There's an app that is works like a calculator, looks like a calculator, but what it actually is when you put in a certain number on the calculator, it's a My Eyes Only vault for your pictures. So even if a parent goes through it, you click on it, oh yeah, that's just a calculator. It's just for algebra, Mom. Oh, okay. But if they had the code, it's got all the nudes. Right?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There's all kinds of
Why
apps.
would anybody keep pictures
Yeah,
of themselves on their phone?
Well, it's not of themselves. It's the ones that they're getting.
So they're actually, so you can see, that's why I was asking before, would it be yourself or, so they're going to have a screenshot of whoever sent them a picture, but doesn't the person that sent them the picture know if they got a screenshot?
They don't care.
Sometimes it's like, usually when guys do it, they ask like if they can keep it, and sometimes the girls are like,
and sometimes they say yes.
yeah, and sometimes they're just like,
Lord,
no.
what do we do with these girls?
Yeah.
And boys.
And see, here's the problem. Because if you really boil this down, the root of this is they're searching for intimacy.
They are.
Because they're trying to find it on social media, thinking that likes and comments and followers equates to intimacy. Then they're left empty inside.
It's like this never-ending circle where there's such a electronic generation that that's all they're doing, so they're not being face to face with people, but then they're craving the intimacy because they're not face to face with people. So then they're taking this route that's not going to fulfill them either.
They don't know how to get out of it because it's too awkward to talk in person. And so they just try to go to what's easy, likes, comments, followers, all that.
Wes used to always say, we have a generation of people that do not and will not know how to communicate because all they do is spend all their time on their phone texting or Snapchatting questions. They're communicating like we don't realize.
Disconnected generation.
Yes, it is crazy how we don't realize, where we could have I'd be Riley, call them, ask them.
Yeah.
Constantly that's how they communicate is by Snapchatting back and forth with each other.
Yep.
Simple. I don't mean this part of it. Just simple. When are we going to meet? When are you coming over? What time? What can my mom meet with you? Just Snapchatting it.
Yep. That's good. So that's that gives you a little bit of enlightenment on social media. How many are?
What's the solution?
Personally, I have ideas, but it's pretty big. Like I think personally that we need to create legislation that forces any social media app or any communication app to create a parent monitoring availability. So, like right now, there's Snapchat. You can't, as a parent, like for example, Facebook has Facebook Kids Messenger.
Okay.
So I think that if you are a social media platform that Snapchat will be forced to, let's say they have their current one just how it is for 18 and up, but they have to also make a version for 18 and below that allows for parent control.
That's how it used to be. But it's just like
Oh, the kids
scroll
lie.
down on the year.
Yeah, exactly. And
then
they
they
might
could have no
lie
way to check
about
it.
their age, but at least I, as a parent, can at least look at that one thing, and if their age changes, then I know that they've got the other version, and there's a reason for it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of having to, as a parent, be like, okay, I got to check their My Eyes Only. Okay, I got to check their stories. Okay, I got to check their private stories. Like, we haven't even gotten into all of that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't know how to initiate that. So if there's some governor that wants to help us out, there you go. But that's my personal belief that I think is the only way that can
Well, and
change anything.
there's also, I mean, you can edit this out, but you know, it's a big deal because if somebody is 17 and there is a 14-year-old
Yep.
girl that sends them a picture,
It's child porn.
you realize it's child porn, you're going to go to jail.
Yep,
Like
absolutely.
there's no, and that's where it's going to start getting really ugly. And I know that has happened before.
Yeah.
And you know what? If it's on your phone, it's your property, from what I understand, and it's yours.
Yeah.
Even if someone else takes a picture
Yeah,
of something,
Yep,
I mean,
and
it
sends it to
can
you
get
willingly.
scary.
yeah, it really can.
That's why all the kids need to definitely have codes on their phone that they do not share with other people.
Which they won't do.
It's, you know.
So one thing that we're going to do also with the Clueless Parent on the Facebook page, we're going to be doing app walkthroughs where I'm going to screen record my phone and say, here's everything about Snapchat, here's how to get into My Eyes Only, all that kind of stuff. And we actually made a list of 25 apps that we're going to do that throughout the year. So you guys can be following the Facebook page and watching for that stuff, so you can kind of get an awareness on how these apps work. Because if you don't know how they work,
That's right.
you'll be able to be deceived real easy. All right, let's ask a couple more questions, and then I think we can wrap up.
Also, I think before you do that,
Yeah.
and the parents watching, get Snapchat.
yeah, absolutely.
The filters are fun. You
Yep.
know, it's great to have fun with it. You can record funny stuff, and you know that way
Absolutely.
at least you know how it works. Even if you can choose who your friends are, who follows you, and who doesn't follow you, and you can be private also.
And I will say, probably one of my funniest conversations. I was talking with a parent and a student, and we were talking about this deal. It was a mom and her son, and I was kind of like alluding to, just be careful. There could be stuff that happens. Like, she goes, oh no, I see everything and all's good, and he never posts stories. He just uses it to talk and all that. And I said, well, they can block you, right? And the student was sitting a little bit behind him. He goes, and she's like, really?
I'd like to see that feature.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. So you can make it to where parents think that they're following it, even if you do have it. You think you're following your student, but you don't realize that you're blocked from seeing their stories. And let me tell you what, that whole atmosphere thing is so true. If you follow a kid's Snapchat story, they'll cuss, they'll do, you might not necessarily think that that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's crazy some of the other stuff that will happen on a Snapchat story that won't happen on Instagram, or Instagram stories that definitely won't happen on Facebook stories. So remember that atmosphere context.
So if you were on Snapchat, I mean, can you make it private so that other people can't follow you unless you give them permission to?
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can make, so parents can actually look
Yep.
at who's following their kids.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
You can also, though, change that. Well, I mean, there's ways that students can get around it where, I mean, there was somebody I was talking to that there's like a code word that my parents check in my phone kind of thing. Like, they'll just text it out so then everybody else knows not to. I don't know if it was something like that, but there's a lot of things around even checking your kids' phones and you got to be on the up and up on this stuff. I'll give you another example. There was one student that was talking to me about, a lot of us have location services on for our students to know where they're at. So we know that if they do go to a friend's house,
Okay, so for a clueless parent, would you explain to our audience what that means?
What's that?
Location services.
Good question. So location services, like for example, for my teens that are in my house, we all have iPhones because Androids are trash. Just going to throw that out there. But
We just lost some people watching
I
or
know.
listening right now.
I'll cut that out. But so you can subscribe to services or whatever, but iPhones have it built in as well, where you can know exactly where your student's at.
That's only when you're like on calling or texting.
Yes.
No,
I can.
find your iPhone. Find my iPhone.
Yeah,
So if
but
I have
If you have it turned on, you can actually see it at all times.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but you have to have it turned on. So
location services turned on.
No, more than location services. Like, we actually had you have to turn on location services, and then our teams have to share their location with us. So, and that can maybe be an app walkthrough. But for example, one thing that ways that teens will get around that is they'll have their location services on. They'll keep their phone at friend A's house, and then when they leave to go to friend B's house, they'll sign into their friend's iMessenger on their friend's phone. So if mom texts them, they still get the message and they can still respond, but the phone still looks like it's at friend A's house, but they're actually texting from a different phone. So there is things like that, whether it's location services or who follows you on Snapchat, or forget even checking your kid's current Snapchat. They can have multiple accounts and usually do.
Yes.
So whenever they're at home, they're signed into the good account. Whenever they're not, they call it their spam account. Now, just because they have a spam account doesn't mean that that's necessarily the bad one, but that's an option as well that kids will do. There's a ton of ways that kids get around this stuff. That's why you cannot be a clueless parent. Like, even when you're fully in the know and you have Snapchat, you're still clueless. That's
Well, you're clueless because it changes all the time.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
and kids are smart, and they
Yeah.
get smarter because they are figuring out ways every day to make it different and to be more deceitful.
Yeah. All right, let's ask a couple more questions here and then we'll wrap this up. How many kids are pregnant in various grades? I know we're summer right now, but
Freshman, it usually doesn't happen, but there is a sophomore, incoming sophomore that's pregnant. There's a senior that's pregnant. There's no juniors.
so not a ton.
No, it's not really.
Okay. Do you know how many have had abortions?
No, that doesn't.
That doesn't
Do
get out.
they talk about that?
No.
Not at all.
No.
So what are they using for protection?
Condoms. A lot of girls are on birth control.
Do they know about sexually transmitted diseases?
Yeah.
So they
Morrison
talk
actually-
about it, right?
Morrison actually had like a really I don't know if they still do it. A lady at our church actually taught it where like it was like super in depth. Like I would have kids come and be like, I don't ever want to have sex because they show pretty graphic stuff and all that. I don't know if they do that anymore, but that's just here. I don't think kids really care though about the consequences of. I mean, would you agree?
Yeah.
But-
No one
The
really
consequences of a sexually transmitted disease
Or
and pregnancy
anything really.
Wow.
It's they so have a need that needs to be met. They don't care
They
about
don't care.
anything else. When do you think "I love you" comes into the conversation?
cares. Oh, easy, like a week.
What do they think that means?
They don't know what it means.
They have
It's
no
just
idea.
like they see older people say it. They see like that's what the goal is, and they're just like, oh, I have strong feelings. Gotta be love.
Wow.
It's gotta be.
So love equates to feelings.
Yeah, usually.
Okay. So they have no idea. Wow. Okay, let me ask you this, and we'll end on this one. Maybe Robin, you can answer this one first here. What percentage of student relationships do you think a parent doesn't know about?
Like boy-girl,
Yeah.
boyfriend-girlfriend
Or
relationship.
maybe wouldn't approve of, or however you want to word that.
I don't know. I'd say like 50%.
Probably because like usually, you don't tell your parents. It's not like, because dating now is just kind of like you can be on and off in a second, but like, whenever you were a kid, it was probably like if
A
you
little more committed.
tried to date, you
Yeah.
told people about it because you wanted that.
Yeah.
Now it could be like, yo, we're dating, and then like 10 minutes later you could be with someone else. So
Wow.
usually don't tell your parents unless you've
So how many dating relationships does an average kid go through in a year?
in a
school
year. It just depends on that person's lifestyle, I think, because sometimes they can go through like 3, like it doesn't last, and then others can like just have one or none.
Out of those relationships, do you think, well, let me ask you this way. How many teenagers, percentage-wise, do you think are actually, like, guarding their physical boundaries? Maybe not necessarily waiting for marriage, but, like, have some sort of guard.
That's a good question.
Probably not a lot, because it's like
Maybe 10%?
maybe because there's like
Wow.
people that go to church and are really like, I want to wait, like that's what I want, and then there's people that are just like, it's not a big deal to me, like
And most of them aren't going to church and having that. I mean, honestly, from my perspective as youth pastor, most of the ones in church
Don't care.
still have no idea about needing to wait or don't care. Yeah. So really, would it be safe to say if a parent has a student who knows that they're in a relationship, more than likely there's some level of physical thing happening at some level, more than making out.
yeah, probably, Because, I mean, I know people that have been dating for a year and a half and they don't do anything. But then I know people that have been dating for 2 weeks.
But that's not the norm.
Yeah. And I know people that have been dating for 2 weeks and they're, like, balls to the walls.
Yeah.
So.
So probably 90% of relationships
Are, like, active, yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that you as a parent have to know. Your kid's not going to tell you that. And I think one of the biggest things that you can do, people always ask me all the time, when should I start talking to my student about sex? I think like 4th grade.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or younger. Like, and I know some people are going to be like, oh my gosh, you know.
Especially if they're in public school.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'll be honest, I taught at Christian school too. It's just covered better, quite honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and that's a good thing to bring up. Don't think because even if you're homeschooling your kids, like, if they have contact with other students, the culture of the teens right now is just not where we probably would want it to be. So I think that's a good place to end. Like, if your student is in a relationship, there's a real good possibility that they're physically active past making out at some level.
So when I was had a lot of the girls over for youth, and I asked them, write down your questions. What are some of your questions that you have that maybe we can go over? And one of a lot of them is why is sex wrong, or why do you have to wait? Why is it that and they want to know. There's still something inside of these kids, and I'm not saying they're the ones that are doing that, but they want to know, well, why? What isn't, because something's in them. So what keeps you from being like everybody else, Dalton? We're talking about their heart. You're saying they desire intimacy. Well, what helps you not be like all those guys?
One thing is, like, my mom got pregnant not really young, like, she was almost 18, but, like, if that happened to me, like,
yeah,
that's, like, I don't know what plan she had, like, that's
you kind of saw her walk through it.
Yeah, like, that'd be, I mean, I work.
Now, did your mom talk to you about that?
Kind of. She doesn't really like to talk about it, because, like,
Yeah.
I work 3 days a week.
Yeah.
If that were to happen to me right now, I wouldn't be able to do anything. I'd have to get, like, a job.
Yeah.
And, like, I just don't see the point in doing that, like,
That's good.
every week.
And do you think any guys ever think like you're thinking right now? Do they ever
my
think
boy
that?
Tommy. I mean,
That's
some
about
of the
it,
people
right?
I'm trying to get myself in with now, like, some of my friends, I talk to them about, I'm like, I don't know if it's, like, worth that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like,
But it's a hard switch.
So
Yeah, they're like,
so
"That
we're
doesn't
I think we're all wired to be intimate and to have needs met. So where are you getting your needs met?
I usually don't. I usually try to stay away.
Okay.
Just kind of wait it out.
Here you go.
How's your relationship with the Lord?
It's getting better.
Yeah. Do you think that helps you?
Yeah.
That's good.
So I've been hanging out with Tommy. It's gotten a lot better.
Friends sharpening
Friends
each
are
other.
huge.
Yeah.
Friends are a big deal.
Yeah.
And I would say too, like,
Why are they such a big deal?
friends determine everything. Like, for me, people, because I grew up and stayed on the pretty straight and narrow, like, and people always ask me, how'd you do it? And quite honestly, I used to get really frustrated with God, because I'm like, I don't know how I did it. Like, all these people asking me what was the secret deal, and I have no idea. And then as I really took some time to process that out, it was because I heavily guarded my friends. Like, there would be times, whether it was after high school or during high school, where, like, maybe there was a group of people who really were serving God, and then I would see them start to stray and do certain things, and I would distance myself from them. And I don't know why I did that, but friends is ginormous.
Well, and I think that's hard for a clueless parent, is because when you do see your friends with your children, you see their good side,
you see the
right?
best
Because they
part.
want you to like them and impress you, but you don't have any access to where their location is and
Right.
what they're saying or doing on Snapchat, or if they're sneaking out at night, if they're doing this or that. And so I think it's hard as a parent, because you do want to think the best about these kids that your children are hanging around, but at the same hand, you can't be naive either.
Yeah. You got to really guard that. You got to really, and make sure you're following them on their Snapchats, and their, they might block you, but try to make that stuff a priority. And I will say too, just some tips for parents. Number one, like, we have to be willing to talk about sex more. Like, we get so scared because maybe they're going to ask about my past or, whatever. Like, you need to be teens. If I've learned anything, teens want real talk. Like, I've had some real conversations about in-depth stuff about this because they want to know. Just like you said, they want to know, but they're afraid to ask. So if you give them the context to ask, they will. And I will say too, when they start to open up, if you want them to open up again later, you better watch your reactions, because they might say something like, well, Mom, I was with this guy and we almost did this, but we didn't. If you light them up at that moment, like, are you serious? You went to a person, you might be freaking out inside, but you need to watch your facial reactions, watch your tone, and realize, think back to when you were in high school, you probably were in similar situations too, because you were just a clueless teenager or whatever. Try to remember what that felt like.
And I also think it's important, Tony, that you're able, and you yourself as a parent are equipped to give them the answer God wants you to give them. And that you're able to look at your past and realize that even though we've made mistakes in our past, whether we were serving God or not, it doesn't mean that we can't expect our kids to do what God has called them to do and live a pure life. Yeah. And so I think a lot of parents just think, well, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. I did this, I did that. Well, where's your conviction at? And where are you going to go to and show them, why it's important for them to have it? Because really the moral reason why is what's going to get in their heart and fill it up for them to make the decisions later when they're...
And I'm glad you said that too, because I do see a lot of parents who allow their teenagers to cross boundaries because they feel bad for addressing those because they crossed the same boundaries when they were a teenager. So there's almost like the subconscious, how could I address them when I didn't even do it well? That's not a good way to get to parent.
Or they're guilty. Parents, there's a lot of hurting parents out there, and there's a lot of guilt that we carry with us, whether you're a divorced parent, a single parent, a widow parent, whether you and your husband aren't getting along or they see you do this or that. We're not perfect. If we were, we wouldn't need to be here because we and so just really get a piece at where you're at and what you can instill in your hearts of your children.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, watch those reactions. That's probably one of the biggest things. If your student starts to open up, love on them. Those are the moments for grace. Those are, those types of things. Because if you light them up, they will not talk to you again. And if anything, you want your teenager to be open with you, not closed off to you.
And I don't know what's coming up, but also I feel like we talk about, you mentioned the reason why the kids are wanting to hook up and they're sending these pictures is because they're desiring intimacy. And let's just be real, we're busy. As parents, we are really, really busy. And even just last night, I used to tuck in my kids every night. They're older, but I always would take my time and lay with them and just sit with them at night before they go to bed. And I haven't done that lately because I've been busy. And also it's summertime and they stay up so much later than I do. It's like I'm up early. But, we have to, as parents, cultivate intimacy with our own children. They have love languages. We need to find out, give them their encouraging words, even though they think they know everything. Give them some physical touching. Hug them. Moms, dads, embrace your kids. Find ways, the 5 love languages of teenagers will be awesome for you. But we need to cultivate it. So schedule your time. Every day, how much time are you going to spend? Play a game of cards, play a board game, watch a movie. Just spend time with your kids, because just hanging out in a car or just because you live in the same house does not mean that you're connecting with your kids. And I have to work on it. I mean, I'm convicted by it, and I'm home a lot, but I'm home all the time with my kids, but I'm very, very busy, and I feel the Lord even convicting me of spend time, have some fun.
Yeah, and I will say too, like especially so I've got 3 teenagers in my house, and like with those guys, you're not going to get to the deep conversations if you're not talking about Fortnite, or if you're not talking about TikTok, or if you're not intentionally hanging out with them on that level. It's amazing to me how many times we would start with something like that's just fun or whatever, and then you pull into the driveway in your car and they just don't get out. It's like, okay, we're going to have a good conversation. We sit in the driveway for 2 hours talking about sex or talking about whatever.
But you can't like be playing Fortnite and then turn that into like the biggest moral dilemma of their life.
Yes, that's good.
Teens get so attacked. It's like, Mom, look at this video, and they're just like, that's terrible. Why are you doing
That's
it? It's
really
just
good.
Oh,
like,
that's good.
And that's the
I
reaction
just think
stuff.
it's funny, and they're just like, you can't, and then we're just like, it's a video.
Yeah, that is so good. So I was actually going to do a whole nother episode about how parents can connect with teens, but just to cut. No, this is good. So like, those reaction stuff is huge. Not even just whenever they bring up something like that, but with what they're. I'm gonna be honest. I, as a youth pastor, let my kids slide a little bit on stuff like that because they're so immersed by it anyway, and I know if I attack it, I'm basically attacking them. I'll give you.
I have to watch that because sometimes it's like yesterday, someone showed a video of an animal thing that happened. I didn't want to say it because I'll offend somebody, and they thought it was so funny, and I'm like going, "Oh my gosh." If the animal rights people saw that video, it's not funny. I want to give this whole, moral story of why that's wrong, why they shouldn't laugh, and don't ever do it in public, even though whatever, because I'm not at their level and not realizing those are those opportunities that you don't need to say you approve it, but you don't need to also let them know how much it's wrong.
Yeah.
Or how wrong it is.
And I'll even say stuff like clothing. A few years ago, there was a student who would always wear a flat bill, and his dad would always make fun of it. And it wasn't even mean. Mm-hmm. It was just slight comments of like sarcastic. He thought he was just joking around with his son. But I watched how when he would make fun of his flat bill, which aren't in style anymore, by the way, but I still wear them. But whatever. When he would make fun of his flat bill, what that was communicating to that student, if you can't understand me on a fashion level, there ain't no way I'm talking to you about sex. I mean, would you guys agree?
Yeah.
So you have no idea the words that carry as a parent, even on things that you think are just funny, like whether it's Snapchat or whether it's fashion or replace flat bill with skinny jeans
or how about for girls? They come to you with this outfit and they want you to look at it and see how great it looks, and you're thinking, wow, it shows too much skin there, it's a little short, it's got too many holes, it's this, it's that, but they're wanting also, am I pretty, do I look good? And as a parent we have to be, especially with girls, it's more difficult because you want them to feel good because their looks and they're just such at a vulnerable age, yet also teach them, okay, well, we have to kind of watch how much skin we're showing. I know you don't understand this now, but
yeah, absolutely. Or guys with like dads oftentimes with skinny jeans, like, oh, you look gay, or you look this. You are communicating to your student, I don't understand you. They'll never open up to you ever. So it's things like that. We'll do a whole episode around that. But yeah. So anything else you'd like to add around all this?
No, that was exactly right.
Yeah.
Because if they aren't on the same wavelength about certain things, it's like if we can't talk about a video game that has nothing to do with anything, then how are we gonna talk about anything that's real?
Yeah.
And then you kind of just distance yourself like slowly.
That's good. Okay. Anything to add, Robin?
No, I was just going to ask Dalton, what he would suggest parents do.
Just because what I see is parents are like, we can talk, and then when you do want to talk, they're just like, well, why do you need to talk about that? Like, you don't do that.
Wow.
And it's just like, okay.
So really what the parent's saying is we can talk as long as it's on my terms and in my way.
Yeah, it's like most of the parents want to talk when it's they're bringing it up and when they see it happen. They don't want to like...
And I love what you said. With teens like to talk in the middle of the night. There just a couple weeks ago, all three of our teens were like piled in our room, and they were just hanging out, and my wife and I were like going to watch a movie, and I was just like looking at her like, no, this is good, and we stayed up till midnight, and we're both tired, but those are the times that your teenagers are going to want to engage. Don't kick them out at that time. Like, there's been times I've stayed up till 4 a.m, literally with
America.
no, just in my own personal house, just because they were talking, and I needed to be.
You're a great man, Tony.
I was exhausted.
You're a great man.
But if you want to connect with your teen, you can't make it on your terms. That's when they were 5. Teenagers are now adults. Do you ever want people to do that to you? Like, we have to talk right now. No, it's So
Well, and I think that's really hard. That's why parenting is always such a challenge, because our children are always changing, you know?
Yeah.
You know, it's easy when they're little and you can tell them when to go to bed and pick out their clothes and, you know, you can control everything. And as they get older, and they get smart, and
Yeah.
I mean, smart in a good way, not in a deceitful way, that really, you know, sometimes they know more than we do. And how you can embrace them as they're getting older with the freedoms that they
and
should
they're finding
have,
their own identities.
and yet still connect with them, because I think a lot of times, you know, we don't know how to connect with our teenagers anymore, and it's you have to be creative, you have to be intentional.
Absolutely. Well, cool. Well, thank you all for listening to this first episode of The Clueless Parent. So, Robin,
Yes.
do you feel like you were a clueless parent?
Do I feel like I am?
Yeah, were.
Oh, yes, I do feel like I definitely was a clueless parent, and I've learned some things. So hopefully you've learned some things also.
So we got Robin Dalton, our clueless parent, right here. See in a minute. Dalton Blackley.
I'm a good teacher. I feel.
You are a good
Yeah.
teacher. Maybe you got a future, bro.
Probably not.
Yeah.
All right, like I said, make sure to watch our Facebook page. We're going to be having, Tommy, the sound engineer, in the back. Hate me, Dalton, moving his just do it for him. Just crank it right on the microphone. All right, thank you everybody for watching. Thank you these guys. We'll see you guys next time. If you like this content, there's a whole bunch more that we put out on our Facebook page and also our YouTube channel. So make sure to subscribe to YouTube, make sure to subscribe to this podcast in iTunes and leave a review, and then also go like the Facebook page, The Clueless Parent. On the Facebook page, we're going to be doing other things such as app walkthroughs, teaching you how to use the apps that all your kids are on. And also, we're going to be doing some things like teen talk, letting you know what slang means, and a whole lot more. So make sure to go like the Facebook page. Thanks for listening to today's episode.